With the regular season kicking back up today, we're now in the home stretch where teams are looking to the playoffs and really getting established on who they are. With that in mind, I have some major questions for the last 30 games of the season, and the first of those questions are the Milwaukee Bucks contenders or pretenders? Since January 8th, over the last 20 games, the Bucks are 10-10, including being 3-7 over the last 10 games. They have fallen to 4 games behind the Cavs in the loss column for second place, and could fall all the way to 4th with the Knicks playing so well. Since January 8th, the Bucks have the 17th rated offense with a rating of 116.3 per 100 possessions, and are the 15th rated defense with a rating of 115.9 per 100 possessions, giving them a net rating of plus 0.4, which is good for 13th in the league over that stretch. Plus 0.4 is like the definition of average, and that's what the Bucks have been. The Bucks are just a very average looking team, especially over that 20 game stretch. And that 20 game stretch isn't a small sample size. That's a third of their season. The Bucks just haven't been what I thought they would be coming into this season. From my perspective, and I think pretty much everyone else's perspective, the Bucks seem like a lock for the top 2 seed out east again, and a lock to be in the Eastern Conference Finals after adding Damian Lillard in the offseason. But now with how they've played, I'm not too sure. Everyone knows they have the defensive struggles. That's been talked about enough, and they need to step up on that end. And under Doc, they've definitely been better, still not great. But now their offense is completely plummeted with Damian Lillard especially struggling. He just doesn't look very good. Dame, since January 8th in the 17 games he's played in that stretch, is averaging 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists, which on paper is fine, but then you look at his efficiency, 41% from the field, 32% from 3, and 94% from the line. That's atrocious, especially for a guy of Damian Lillard's standard. With Chris Middleton being injured, a lot of the load has now fallen on him and Giannis to create even more. And while Giannis has stepped up his game, Dame just hasn't. The Bucks are clearly lacking in players who can consistently create their own shot and score effectively. And if Chris Middleton doesn't come back to near his usual form, that problem is going to get only more magnified in the postseason. They still have Giannis, who's a top 2 player in the league, and it's going to be hard to count him out, especially in a series against the Cavs or the Knicks. Well, he'll be the clear best player. But with how the team has played and how those other teams in the Cavs and the Knicks have performed recently, it's going to be really, really tough for me to bet against those teams. And honestly, I wouldn't be too shocked if the Bucks end up getting bounced in the second round and falling short of their championship goals once again. My next major question for the rest of the season is, how strong do the Pistons finish? And I get they're still going to be a bad team, but over their last 20 games, they are 5-15. And when you compare that to their first stretch where they went 3-31 over their first 34 games, that is a massive improvement. The main driving force behind this is Monty Williams learning how to coach. Jaden Ivey should never have been benched, and he's clearly one of the best players on this team. And Monty Williams is now playing him more like he is one of the best players on this team. Especially with Killian Hayes being cut, this just opens up so many more opportunities for Jaden Ivey to take over and just improve his game and be that secondary ball handler, or maybe even the main ball handler along Cade Cunningham. Over the first 34 games, Ivey did not look very good. He averaged just 25 minutes and put up 13 3-3 with 3 turnovers. He was shooting the ball decently, but it was on pretty low volume. Since being fully put into the starting lineups 20 games ago, Ivey is averaging 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists with 3 turnovers that he got to clean up. He's shooting the lights out of the ball from deep, shooting 45% from the floor, 39% from 3, 67% from the line. He has taken 6 threes over this stretch and is playing 31 minutes. Cade also missed some time over the stretch, which has really helped Ivey get back as that lead point guard, which he was in his rookie year, which is what he thrived in. And honestly, I think Ivey being the lead ball handler is what's best for this Pistons team long term. Cade is a really good PG, but he has struggled to be the main creator for offense. He has a lot of turnover problems. And while he is good at creating his own shot, I think he is better suited to being an off-ball guard who can take over ball handling duties when needed, or Cade can create his own shot by attacking off the dribble or just attacking a weak side defender instead of having to make everything out of ISO or high pick and roll. Ivey just is a more dynamic downhill threat, and he's very good at dishing the ball out when he's driving hard to the basket. Cade is a guy who's a good knockdown, catch and shoot 3-point shooter, and having a guy set him up for those opportunities is only going to help his efficiency and open up the floor for everyone else. The Pistons did make a trade at the deadline to get worse by giving up Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks, but that is fine in my eyes because what they really need to do is develop their young core of Cade, Ivey, Duren, and Thompson, and I don't think those guys were necessarily conducive to that. I don't know if they're going to go on a big win streak and win a bunch of games, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish the season with not the worst record in the league league. And honestly, that would be a very, very high accomplishment considering how poorly they started the year. On the flip side to the Bucks, my last question is, are the Knicks real contenders? They have one of, if not the deepest teams in the league when fully healthy, and they have the ability to match up extremely well against most of the top Eastern Conference teams. They don't necessarily have the most talent, but they have one of the most productive and complementary starting fives in the entire league. Brunson has been a clear All-NBA guy this year. Donte DiVincenzo has been one of the best shooters in the league, shooting 41% on 7 attempts from 3. They have OG Anunoby, who is one of the best defensive players in the league, and is clearly an old defensive team player, while also being a good spot-up shooter and giving them another guy who hit open threes. Julius Randle has been playing at an all-star level all season, and hopefully he can come back and be in that form sooner rather than later. And Isaiah Hartenstein, since being in the starting lineup, has been like a top 10, top 15 big in the league who's just been insanely productive on all ends and all areas of the court. Then you go to their bench where they have Bogey and Burks, who are great shooters and can make their own shot. Then they have Mitchell Robinson, who should be back, who is playing at an old defensive level and having one of the better offensive rebounding years in recent memory. They have Josh Hart, who's just an absolute dog and is going to give you 120% every single night and can ball handle a little bit, bring the ball up the court, score a little bit, just do a bit of everything. And then they have Precious Achiuwa, who's really revitalized himself with the Knicks and is playing to his utmost potential, which is that of a great versatile power forward / small ball 5. That's 5 dudes off the bench that can all play at a high level on any given night and have all played in the postseason before. A major bonus. Because they have so many good players at so many different spots, they can pretty much have 48 minutes of solid to great play at all positions, except for point guard. They have the size to match up with the Bucks and build a wall in the paint for Giannis. They have the wing defenders to stick on Tatum and Brown and slow them down. And they have the size at center to guard Kristaps Porzingis. They have the size to bully the Cavs like they did last year. And they have enough to guard all the other top teams out east. And I think they have enough offensive firepower to keep up with most of those teams if it does become a shootout. I'm really high on the Knicks. I've been high on them since the OG Anunoby trade. And adding Bogey and Burks just makes this team even better. I don't know if the Knicks have a chance of like winning the finals, but I definitely wouldn't count them out. Those are my major storylines to watch for the rest of the season, and I'm really excited to see how the rest of this year plays out. Thank you for watching and take it easy.